The risk, the trap that many curators fall into, tracing back to the beginning of digital art, this trend has become even more apparent and visible. People talking about nonsense. I just close the app. I'm like, all right, let's go back to work. Hi, I'm Giorgio. I'm a curator, and I'm the founder and director of Synthesis.
Giorgio Vitale didn't wait for the art world to go digital. In 2017, he opened Synthesis, the immersive art space that soon turned into one-of-a-kind space dedicated to showcasing immersive art. During COVID, he was shipping VR headsets directly to people's homes. Since then, Synthesis has evolved into something between a gallery, a lab, and a future experiment. They've shown names like AES+F, Nancy Baker Cahill, and Sasha Stiles. They've shown up at South by Southwest, Transmediale, Berlin Art Week, and spoken at the European Commission. They've worked with computer game opera, digital poetry, and all shapes and forms of digital art. We went to Berlin to find out how digital art, low-key, took over our lives.
I like to play a lot with exhibition formats. We had curated an exhibition on a VR headset that we were shipping during the pandemic. People received this headset with a set of artworks, and it was an exhibition. I wanted to show specifically immersive art and immersive artworks. It was never about hanging screens, or in this case headsets on the wall, but it was more about really like honoring these works, and also start or like incentivize a conversation about how technology shapes identity, society, and perception. Then our focus broadened, and we moved from a commercial model to a non-commercial model in 21. As a consequence, we decided to expand a bit the spectrum of digital art media, therefore deciding to work with any kind of medium, working on exhibiting outside Germany and across the world. I believe we've been rather successful doing so. When I say I like to take risk, this goes from like the artists I exhibit to the format of my exhibitions to the way I exhibit the works. It's common to have people attending openings online with like an avatar, or an artist working with AI, having like AI as a facilitator, or an algo as a facilitator. Something like this was simply unthinkable a few years ago.
Hands everywhere! 3,000, 3-2 with you, sir, at 3-2. 6,000 though against you. It is sold. Congratulations for $12,000.
My coveted whale went for 4 times the expected price.
Thanks to blockchain, we are now able to track and map the provenance and value of digital artwork and its value in itself. If you just take a look at the past 20, 30 years, tracing back to the beginning of digital art, this trend has become even more apparent and visible. Every 2-3 years there is something new. Now there is AI. 3 years ago it was NFTs, blockchain. What was that? 5-6 years ago it was AR, VR, and then it was internet art, and before that video art. The risk, the trap that many curators fall into is chasing the hype over depth. If you want to stay relevant, then you need to adjust. Yet, you're doing a disservice to the artist and the job of a curator, how it should be. A curator doesn't chase hype. It really works along the lines of how to place an artwork or the current discourse into the canons of digital art history, how to bridge them together. Therefore, chasing hype goes, by definition, against it. I think it's also intrinsically connected to the transient and temporary and fast-paced nature of digital art. The best productivity boost for me is just opening Twitter, and every time I open Twitter and I see people talking about nonsense, I just close the app. I'm like, all right, let's go back to work, because it's the embodiment, exemplification of how things should not be done, and they are done, unfortunately. As I said, we always have these guys guidelines or like these teachings when we approach an exhibition, when we approach artists and artworks. You need to know their history. You need to have some sort of background so that you are able to better understand what the work says and how to position the work alongside other works in dialogue. AES+F, obviously. When I started curating and started working in art like 8 years ago, I was looking at them as if they were the divine, you know, like Caravaggio portrays the divine, which is something like unreachable, above everything, above everyone. AES+F embodied all of this. But apart from my mental exercises, shenanigans, what I like about them, they've been able to create something that is the embodiment of beauty, the convergence, the synthesis of so many disciplines. In them you see there is fashion, performance. You see references from like modern art all the way to nowadays photography. There's so much going on. And doing that, achieving a trademark aesthetic is rather remarkable. You look at a work by AES+F and you immediately know it's them. Artists spend years or an entire career trying to come up with an aesthetic that truly defines them. They've been able to do that. It's a source of inspiration for sure. Another artist that I particularly appreciate is Maria Caballero.
I wait for me, for the mother in me to take care of me, to birth me and bathe me and put me to sleep here. In your room.
She has expanded the meaning of poetry beyond words, beyond the letters, bringing poetry on so many different stages, in so many different kinds of formats, mixing poetry with digital and performance, with artificial intelligence, with generative art. These two artists will definitely be mentioned in the art history books in a few years, for sure. The degree of sophistication. I want to hear a story that gives the artwork meaning, a relevance that can be placed along the lines of the canons of digital art history or just art history in general. An artwork that is able to cast a doubt and like trigger thinking. Going back to your question, like when I look at an artwork, I don't limit myself, I don't stop myself to just the aesthetic. Very interested, for example, in like the way the artwork is made, how it's made, what is the creative process, in what way the artist wants to translate like the theory, their idea to the artwork. In that liminal space is where the magic happens. The more sophisticated this liminal space is between theory and practice, the more the artwork is valid and relevant. I would love to take over Times Square in New York. That would be like the reappropriation of like art and like artists from capitalism, just generally speaking. But it will also be a great idea to curate a space like this and thinking how to, from like dawn to sunset, what to show, how like to play with perception. I think it's very important, especially these days, keep asking questions. And this is, by the way, something that, you know, the artists do as a job when they create an artwork. I think it is important to keep a very critical eye. I am very much against the commodification of knowledge. I reject binary thinking, and I hope that in my exhibitions, this is something that comes off as prominent. So my recommendation for them would be keep on asking questions. Just go beyond. Keep a critical mind. Reject dogmas. You can activate an AR work on your smartphone, or you can work with like platforms where you can stream videos on your TV screens. I guess everyone here is on Instagram. You have access to those images previously you couldn't see. You had to go to an exhibition or you had to go to the artist studio. Digital art is everywhere. It's an extension of our society, a bit like the smartphone. Digital art is an extension of us as a society.